Benjamin Impossible. Chapter 11. Rally Time. 4 hours later, the Red Zeppelin was in the air again, limping southward over the Atlantic Ocean. The airship had suffered from the robotic attack. Most of the damage was cosmetic, but significant portions of the rigging had torn away, and the hyperhelium balloon was in danger of breaking loose and floating off into space. Captain Lemontime had contacted the nearest Coast Guard station, and a support boat had been dispatched to assist. Under Papa Impossible's direction, the Coast Guard crew had swarmed the ship, reattached broken ropes, and winched the hyperhelium balloon back into position. It took several hours, but at last, Papa Impossible felt the Red Zeppelin was airworthy again. The captain of the support vessel had wanted to escort their ship to port and take the Impossible family to a hospital. However, Mama Impossible had refused to leave the Red Zeppelin. She did not want to leave the area with her youngest child missing. Eventually, the Coast Guard pulled away and the Red Zeppelin rose into the air, heading south, the direction in which the robotic octopus was last seen moving. "I've made some calls," Captain Lemontime informed the family. "We've dispatched rescue helicopters out of Miami. They're sweeping the coastline looking for any signs of a submarine. I've also put a call out to the FBI to look for Dr. Glockenspiel as well." "Thank you, Captain," Mama Impossible said. She looked exhausted and her voice was hoarse from crying. The captain looked worried. "I must tell you, ma'am, I don't think my superior officers are taking this robot threat seriously. I can barely believe it myself, and I just got beaten by a mechanical octopus. I suspect the military is cooperating out of respect for your family and the distant hope that you'll give the military some hyperhelium to play with." Papa put his hand on the captain's shoulder. "Thank you, Captain. You've been a big help. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been here when that octopus attacked." "Yeah," Benjamin said bitterly. "You managed to scratch that robot with bullets, warm it with a tiny kitchen fire, and shoot my mom with a fart gun." Papa frowned at the boy. "Benjamin, I think you're being unfair. The captain acted quickly and decisively. It's not his fault a robotic octopus attacked us. If it weren't for his quick thinking, the robot would have capsized the Red Zeppelin and we'd all be lost." Benjamin shrugged. "I guess." "What do we do now?" Mama Impossible asked. "We have to get baby Charlie back. He must be so scared." "Well," Papa Impossible said, "I think the first thing we should do is get some rest. This has been a long day and it's past midnight." "Rest?" Mama Impossible asked, incredulous. "How can I rest with my baby inside an underwater robot?" "I'm sure he's okay, Mom," Benjamin said. "That robot wasn't trying to hurt Charlie. It just wanted to squid-nap him and take him to Dr. Glockenspiel. Charlie is probably hanging out in a submarine right now." His mother frowned at him. "And that is supposed to make me feel better? Your little brother trapped inside a submarine with a mad pirate?" "Well, there's nothing we can do at the moment." Papa shrugged. "The trail is cold, at least for now. Charlie was stolen for a reason, and I'm sure we'll figure out why soon enough. I suggest we all get some rest. We won't do Charlie any good if we aren't thinking straight tomorrow. We need to keep our wits about us." "Sir," Captain Lemontime said, "I think we should secure the ship from further attacks before we go to bed." "What do you suggest?" "Well," the captain said, thinking, "we probably ought to take the ship to a higher altitude. The robot came from the water. Further attacks may be difficult if we are higher up." Papa scratched his head. "That seems reasonable, but how did that robotic octopus attack us in midair? We were already floating several hundred feet over the ocean when the robot appeared." "Hyperhelium," Benjamin said, slapping his palms together. "The robot floated up using hyperhelium. Remember, right before the attack, our voices became squeaky? We thought we had a hyperhelium leak, right?" They all nodded, and Benjamin turned to his father. "Dad, how is the ship's balloon doing? Did we leak any gas?" Papa Impossible shook his head. "No, the gas pressure is normal. The Red Zeppelin's envelope appears to be undamaged." Benjamin nodded. "I think that Dr. Glockenslippery filled that robot specimen jar with hyperhelium so it could float up to get us. As soon as the robot reached the boat, it popped open its lid and all the hyperhelium escaped into the air for us to breathe. That's why our voices went squeaky before the attack." Mama Impossible nodded. "That would also explain why the ship lurched. Without the hyperhelium, the robot became heavy all at once." Captain Lemontime paced back and forth, thinking. We don't want more robots floating up to attack us. Does your ship have an alarm or proximity sensor? Papa Impossible shook his head. Not really. We have radar and altimeter gauges, of course, but no burglar alarms designed for this kind of thing. It's rare to collide with objects while floating in the sky, and we've never had burglars before. Benjamin had an idea. I can program Noah to guard the ship. He has a sophisticated collision avoidance system. I can set him to fly patrols around the boat and raise the alarm if anything approaches. Benjamin called Noah to him, and the robotic dog floated over, his metal tail wagging. Benjamin gave the commands, and the dog barked sadly. Benjamin muttered, reading an LED readout on the side of the robot. I've programmed Noah, but his power levels are very low. He used a lot of juice earlier when he rescued me from that shark torpedo. It will take all night to refill his fuel cell. Papa shrugged. Just give him some power bars. Check the side cupboard. Benjamin picked his way across the debris-filled deck and opened a cabinet. He grabbed a box of treats and walked back to the dog. Here, boy, he cried, tossing one of the morsels into the air. The dog barked and caught the object in his mouth and swallowed. Captain Lemontime said. What was that? That was a power bar. Weren't you listening? Benjamin threw another of the treats to the happy dog. I thought Noah was a robot. Robots don't eat food. Benjamin held up one of the snacks. This isn't food. These are high-capacity batteries. Noah can swallow them and use them as an alternative energy source. Power bars are great when he needs energy fast and we don't have time to refill his main fuel cell. They can also give him a boost when he flies at top speed. Noah flew around and barked again. Benjamin tossed the final battery and the robot swallowed it greedily. Captain Lemontime watched in fascination. What does he do with old batteries when he's discharged them? Benjamin grinned. That's the best part. Watch this. Noah drifted down to the ship's deck and hovered several feet above the wooden floor. They could hear an internal servo grinding inside the dog's metal body. It sounded like a vending machine about to dispense a candy bar. With a clunk, a used battery slid out of the robot's bottom and landed on the deck of the ship. Benjamin beamed proudly. See? When he's used up a battery, he poops it out right there on the poop deck. Now I can collect the old battery and recharge it. Voila! The great circle of robo-doo-doo continues. Captain Lemontime looked at the discarded battery lying motionless on the ground. You made a robotic dog that poops batteries? Benjamin nodded proudly. Great idea, right? The best part of owning a dog is watching it poop. I thought of installing a fart dispenser as well, but that's just going overboard, don't you think? Yes, Mama Impossible said. Fart gas would be a little much. She gave Captain Lemontime a hard stare, and the captain looked away. The family eventually went to bed, and Captain Lemontime retired to the guest room. Noah circled slowly around the ship, content with the fully charged power bars in his belly. You've reached the end of Chapter 11. Please leave a like for this video. Then continue to Chapter 12, Ransom Note.